You know that tiny, pulsing blob in there? That's not just a clump of cells. It's the first stage of a brain that will eventually hold your thoughts, memories, and dreams. Within weeks, it goes from a simple cluster to something far more complex, like a miniature universe of neural pathways starting to take shape. This is where the foundation is laid for everything you will ever think, feel, and do, starting with a single, miraculous act of cell division. And it all begins in the quiet, hidden world of the womb, where the brain starts its journey from nothing to a full functional organ. So, what exactly happens next? Let's dive into the mind-blowing science behind how a brain is built, one connection at a time. So, what exactly are we talking about? Let's start with the basics, the fetal brain. It's a small, delicate structure, but it's already beginning to form complex patterns of cells and connections. Imagine a tiny, soft mass, no bigger than a pea, nestled in the early stages of development. This brain isn't just growing in size, it's also growing in complexity. Neurons start to form, and they begin to reach out to each other through tiny, delicate fibers called axons and dendrites. These are the building blocks of communication in the brain. As these neurons connect, they form networks. These networks are not random. They follow specific patterns, guided by genetic instructions and environmental influences. It's like building a city from the ground up, with roads and pathways carefully planned. But neural connectivity isn't just about numbers. It's also about timing. The brain must wire itself at the right moments, ensuring that signals are transmitted efficiently. This is a delicate balance between growth and precision. And let's not forget, this entire process is happening in a controlled environment. The developing brain is bathed in a rich mixture of nutrients, growth factors, and signaling molecules, all working together to guide its development. Your brain is a product of the earliest moments of life, shaped by the same intricate processes that occur in the fetal brain. Every connection formed then sets the foundation for how you think, feel, and interact with the world. Understanding fetal brain development isn't just about science. It's about understanding yourself. The way you learn, remember, and process emotions is deeply rooted in the connections made in those first weeks of life. When we talk about fetal brain development, we're not just talking about a baby's future. We're talking about your own. Every decision, every emotion, and every thought is part of a story that began in the womb. By caring about fetal brain development, you're not just supporting science. You're supporting the very core of who you are. It's about understanding your origins and how they shape your present. So, while it may seem distant, the early stages of brain development are incredibly close to you. They are the silent architects of your mind, and understanding them can help you better understand yourself. Let's rewind to the first few weeks. The neural tube closes, forming the foundation of the brain. Neurons begin to sprout axons and dendrites, like tiny trees reaching out for connections. By the end of the first trimester, the brain has grown to about 25% of its adult size. Neural migration begins. Neurons travel from their birthplace to their final destinations, guided by chemical signals. In the second trimester, synapses form rapidly. The brain undergoes a burst of growth, with billions of connections being made every second, like a digital network expanding at lightning speed. By the third trimester, the brain has reached about 80% of its adult volume. Neurons start pruning unnecessary connections, refining the neural architecture for efficiency and function. This speed run through the history of the fetal brain shows how, in just 9 months, a complex neural network forms, one that will shape our thoughts, memories, and identity. Imagine your baby's brain as like a tiny city, with roads and buildings just starting to form. These roads are like nerves, and the buildings are brain cells, all working together to make sense of the world. As time passes, these roads get longer and more connected, like a growing map that helps your baby's brain understand things like sounds and touch. Every time your baby moves or hears something, it's like a new street is built, helping the brain learn and remember what it experiences. These connections are like the foundation of your baby's thinking, learning, and feelings. all starting from the very first moments of life. So, even though your baby is tiny, their brain is already building the roads of their whole future, one connection at a time. Before the first neuron fires, the stage is set with a complex interplay of genetic blueprints and maternal support. The placenta delivers essential nutrients and oxygen, ensuring the developing brain receives everything it needs to begin its journey. Within the womb, the neural tube begins to form, a flat structure that will eventually fold into the brain and spinal cord. This is the first step in building the central nervous system, orchestrated by precise gene expression. As the neural tube closes, it gives rise to 3 primary brain vesicles: the forebrain, midbrain, and hindbrain. These structures are the foundation for all future brain functions and connections. Each of these vesicles contains a unique set of genes and cells that will eventually give rise to the brain's distinct regions, from the cerebrum to the cerebellum. This is the setup for the entire neural network. This foundational stage is critical. It sets the blueprint for neural connectivity, ensuring that the brain is not only built, but also primed for the intricate wiring that will follow. Once the neural tube forms, cells called neurons begin to migrate from their birthplace to their final positions in the brain. This migration is guided by chemical signals and physical structures that form a scaffold for their journey. As these neurons travel, they extend long, thin projections called axons, which will eventually form the connections between different parts of the brain. This is the first step in creating the neural network. Once in place, neurons start to reach out to one another. These connections, called synapses, are formed through a process known as synaptic plasticity, which allows the brain to adapt and change as it develops. This dynamic process of connection and refinement continues throughout fetal life. The brain undergoes pruning of unused connections and strengthening of essential ones, which shapes its functional architecture. As this intricate process unfolds, the brain's structure becomes more complex, setting the foundation for all future cognitive and sensory functions. It's a delicate balance of growth, guidance, and refinement. Now, the brain starts to form intricate connections through a process called synaptogenesis. Neurons begin to reach out and form connections with each other, creating a dense web of communication across the developing brain. This isn't random. The brain follows specific pathways guided by genetic signals and environmental cues. Some connections are strengthened, while others are pruned away, shaping the brain's architecture over time. One clever twist is how the brain uses a kind of rewiring to fine-tune these connections. This is called synaptic plasticity, where the strength of a connection can be adjusted based on how much it's used. This rewiring allows the brain to adapt and learn from experience, even before birth. It's a dynamic process where the brain is both building and reshaping itself in real time. So, the brain's development isn't just about growing. It's about learning, adapting, and becoming more efficient with each new connection formed and refined. Neural connections begin forming as early as the 3rd week of gestation, with neurons migrating across the developing brain in a precise, orchestrated dance. These pathways are guided by chemical signals and physical cues, ensuring each neuron reaches the right place at the right time. Synaptic connections are strengthened through use, a process called long-term potentiation, which is fundamental to learning and memory. This process is not static, it's dynamic, with some connections being reinforced and others pruned away to create a more efficient neural network. Ultimately, this intricate, ever-evolving web of connections is what gives the fetal brain its remarkable capacity for adaptation and growth. Imagine your brain as a city with millions of streets, each one a neuron, and every intersection a synapse. As the brain develops, these streets are built, and the traffic lights, though connections, are programmed. In the first trimester, it's like laying the foundation, building the roads but not yet setting the traffic rules. The brain is forming its basic structure, but the connections are still in the planning stages. By the 2nd trimester, the city is growing, with more roads and intersections. The traffic rules are starting to take shape, but they're still under construction. This is when the brain starts forming its neural networks. In the third trimester, the city is now fully connected. Traffic flows smoothly, and the rules are clear. The brain is now forming complex connections, allowing for thoughts, memories, and even basic emotions. So, while it's a silly analogy, it's accurate in the way it captures the gradual, complex, and beautiful process of building a brain. One road, one signal, one connection at a time. Before you go, if you enjoyed this, please give it a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. And tell us in the comments what you'd like us to make next. We read every single one. Thank you so much for watching. Comment this emoji if you made it to the end.